Okay, here we are again. Welcome you to our 36th film in our series Pattern of the Month. And I've got a cap on today, celebrating that for us it's a special day, or it was a special day yesterday, because yesterday we introduced our sailor rods and reels to the best and biggest and most reliable shops in Europe and also the rest of the world actually. And they say maybe that the salmon fishermen don't die, they just fade away, and I feel if I look older today that I'm fading away. It's been a extremely hectic time, but also a lot of fun, and they are here, our S3 series. And I'm super proud. I think this is the best rods I've ever fished, and I also think the reels are super cool. We made a few small adjustments from our black limited edition. These I think with the burgundy color is nice. We changed a few small things on them, and well, the rods, small changes from the S2 too, and also we added a 16 footer, so the series now is 5 rods from a 10-7-8 to a 16-10-12, which I think is all a serious salmon fisherman needs. But check them out. They are on our sailor dealers, and you can check our web where to find the sailor dealer. Oops. And you can check the web for where the sailor dealers are. And I must also say that I'm super grateful that the best shops in Europe actually believes in us and decided to become sailor dealers. Important for us to have the best people around us and the most knowledgeable salmon fishing shops in the world actually. Okay, that on this, and my head's been full of reels and rods lately, so we're going into now tying flies again, thank God. This I actually know, the other thing is new, but it's been challenging but also rewarding when getting this super good stuff. Okay, so what did we say? 36. Today we're gonna do a little fly, or a big fly, a fly that's probably one of the most classic and best known modern salmon flies. If you don't look at the Victorian era doctors and jock Scots and these, we're gonna tie a Willie gun version. And first time I saw a Willie gun, it was like a short little tube with 3 colors of bucktail tied all around it, and I really liked the way the yellow, orange and black mix. It's a super nice humus color blend in color combination, and ever since, maybe this was probably mid-70s, I've been tying different versions on a Willie gun. We had the Willie gun in our fly series, and ever since we started selling flies, Willie gun's been one of our best selling flies, and I think it comes down to the color combination. It's super nice. I'm gonna tie it a bit different than you've probably seen before, and I'm gonna tie it a bit different than I've been doing before too. Blending these colors in a little different way with different materials. So let's start tying then. I'm gonna use our black medium. Those of you following, you've seen that I tie on medium tubing. And yes, I could say that, yeah, the cutter is here. Unfortunately, I think they're always sold out.
No, have a few left.
We have a few left. We sold several hundred cutters just getting them out. Many people been waiting for them, and also the plier. We have some of those left too. Okay, using the cutter, getting the good edges on the plastic. I'm gonna do the black, medium, and an extra small yellow. And when it comes to common colors here on this, what you can do is that you can either change this fly, fishing it on more colored water. You can use a fluorescent orange medium, and you can also use a yellow with an orange in the front, or you can make any different combinations here, and you will see that I will leave you with quite a few options when it comes to doing the colors here and the hackles and orders. I'm doing a 12-0, our own thread, 12-0 black thread, and I start after cutting this little edge. I start by putting some thread over this part that I cut to make the medium hold the extra small. I've said it so many times, but for me it's a brilliant idea actually. Been using glue for 10 or 15 years just to mix those two, and now I can do it without glue, making the fly much stronger, and the glue makes it hard and it will be sooner or later breaking. Okay, so tapering the body where I let the black be the rear part of the fly, and I move my thread back and I tie in a mirage. I can now do the mirage with the thread under if I want. It doesn't really matter because I have the black tubing. Overlapping, pulling a bit, tying it in tight, and securing it. Those of you following me know that I tie most of my tubes today without a tail, but on this one I'm going to use a bit a tail, and I use a very hot fluorescent part of it. And in many of my patterns, I like to have a little fluorescent somewhere, and I tie it in flat on top using like half the diameter of the, that was a little too much. It's better to redo it always. If it doesn't turn out good, redo it, or your box will end up with flies you don't want to fish. So I tie it in using half the diameter of the tubing. I can take that away, or I can just tie it in with the thread, meaning it will be a smoother body. So if I have something going too much forth, I can take that away, but leaving this too long, put the scissors in and pull and cut, tapering this, and I can do that a few times, leaving just a few fibers quite long. And this is going to be a big fly, maybe 10-12 centimeter fly, so I let the tail be fairly long. Okay, so we're going to use 2 braids, and actually 2 of my favorite hollow braid colors, the yellow one and the orange hollow braid, and nice combination here for a Willie gun. I've been tying a lot of Willie guns with gold back rear part of the body, but today I'm going to do it with the yellow instead, and I will work with the yellow and need a little bit longer piece there, and the orange in different ways where you can see I now tie in the body half after the ribbing, and I could have done it the opposite way, ribbing with the yellow and putting the orange on the body, just tying them in the other, tying in the yellow first. And as I said, here you can do variations, and to be honest with you, I have more Willie guns that are different from each other than are the same in my box. Start by winding this, pulling over, make sure I cover up the thread, overlapping this. And the good thing with our braid is that it's super strong. You can overlap it, it's thin. You can create a body that is actually tapered. And one of the ugly things on flies, I think, when it comes to just looking at them, is when you have a fly that is tapered the wrong way, where you have the fat part and it's going thinner to the front. This way you can actually build it up in a nice way. Okay, and like I do on most flies, I use dubbing on the front part, and I'm going to use our glitz here, and I'm going to use the color combination we call Rainbow from Hell. It's a black, purple, red, gold rainbow color, and it's fairly dark. Most of it is black. Fibers are long, easy to dub, and here I take a little bit at a time and tie it in, covering up the thread back and forth, building up the body. And again, said it in a few films, you need to make this look a bit overdressed. If you don't, when you brush it down, it will be too thin. Okay, and I'm gonna save about 4 to 5 millimeters of the medium, so I tie in most of wings and hackle on the medium, not on the extra small, making a stronger fly actually. Here we go. Hackling. This is what we call classic series, meaning that we have a fly where wings and hackles and body all is sitting together in one fly. When I fish today, I fish most of the time with the system where I have a loose wing and hackle sliding down on bodies that I can change, and BTTs or TTTs. I think it's a superb way of doing it. Okay, so yellow or orange. I'd say that most of my Willie guns have the orange. But the yellow over the black with the yellow part is really, really nice. But you can also do it like this. You can use both. And I'm going to use both here. I'm going to just put these together so they're about equally long. And then I work with the feathers together like they were one. Pull them up, and then I pull away half pull away the fibers on one side of it, like this. Just move my fingers, take a little bit at a time, like this. And this way I will have equal amount of hackle strands on 2 feathers than I would have had on one that I didn't treat like this. And then I tie it in underneath, both at the same time. Make sure to put a few turns of thread on and cut it off. I could wind these one way, one this way and one the other way, and crossing them over like this, but it's better, I think, to to wind them at the same time, at the same turn, because hackles will blend in better and they're not gonna lock each other. And I start by putting one turn at the front before I move back over my dubbed body. And together with the turn in the front, it's gonna end up being 5 turns. And I can do this with a plier, or I can do it by hand like this. And when it comes to big feathers like this, I think it's better to do it by hand, even if we have our plier that will hold the material superb. I'm spinning down the hollow braid, crossing over every turn, ending it and tying it in underneath. And the reason I try to end up tying this in underneath here is that see, it was not much left there, is that I want to have the wing and all the stuff on the top, and there's enough room, but it becomes neater if I do it like this. And then I cut away this, making sure I take away the tip, so, and don't have too long strands here. I have a little bit there. I could be a little more accurate, sorry for this. And again, if I'm not doing this, I will have a fly that I will look at and say, these strands there, I should have taken them away. Okay, and I brush it, pulling out the fibers from the glitz like this. And you can see the advantage with glitz compared to a lot of other dubbings is that the fibers are very long and they're very easy to pick out. There are different diameters on the fibers in the glitz, so you have some very, very fine ones and some are a little bit heavier, meaning I get a really nice, very translucent but also very nice shining body that will make the fly look more alive, I think. So, time for wing and hackles. And here we have to think now, because now I'm going to tie 3 different hair materials and 3 different hackles. And to make this the best way possible, to end up with a half turbo, with classic way. A half turbo, I'm going to use a quite small one today, meaning that I can't cover too much of thread and materials with the cone. And that's the big advantage with the cone, I think, or one of them. First of all, they balance the fly, but they also cover up the thread, making the fly be a lot stronger. And I don't have to sit and put tens of layers of varnish and glue and everything. I just cover everything with the cone. Okay, so I'm gonna start with our Hot Magma Yellow Angel Hair HD, and I take a few fibers, and it's always better to have more fibers than I need, actually, because you can always cut some away. And I take them and I tie them in quite wide, on the top, 1 or 2 turns, and I double back, pull back the strands and make sure they are pointing the right direction. If they are pulling down a little bit, I can move these and make sure they are spread the way I want. And as always, I never cut like this. I pull and taper, getting fibers to be different length. And these are the fibers, the flush fibers, that will be seen from underneath. instead of putting the wing on and the hackle in front or hackling everything in the wing, I'm going to put this in steps. So I'm going to start now, and here we're going to tie in 3 different hackles. And normally maybe I start by putting the lightest one and have the darker to the front. Here today I'm going to do quite the opposite. I'm going to take the black one first, and I'm going to start by putting in a couple of turns. And when I have to think when I do 3 feathers that I do only 2 turns each, otherwise it's going to be too much. Creating the little triangle, pulling back the strands, creating the triangle, and that's what I tie in. And I tie it in close to the body like this. And when I tie a lot of materials, I try, instead of putting them in front of each other, I try to put them on top of each other. It will make a neater fly and a smaller, nicer head. 3 fingers, double back, and tie this in. And again, I do this with my hands, making sure that I get all the fibers on each turn to double and be tied in the right position. And I tie it in. And here you can see that I was estimating this a little wrong, meaning I didn't strip enough, but I can always cut it away like that. Okay, dividing the hackles a bit here. And then it's time for the first wing, and I'm going to take the lightest wing underneath, and I'm going to use one of the 3 Willie gun colors, meaning yellow first. And I use my brush, and I brush through, untangling the whole part of the wing at the same time like this. Then I move my fingers up on the hair, looking at the taper, and here I can pull out a few, tapering this wing better than it was on the skin when I took it away. Flat on top, about as long as the tail, or a little shorter here, but not longer. And I tie it in. And again I work the thread close to the body. A little bit too long there, but it doesn't really matter since I'm gonna tie in a lot of stuff here. Looking so it's wide, and I am using half of the diameter of the tube. Sorry, yes, recovering from COVID here, but I'm okay. So I go over to next color, and here I'm going to use our hot orange in flames. And if I want this to be a little more flashy, we're closing in on spring now, and we want to have flies with strong color. And if we want a little bit more flash, I can use the HD also here inside the wing. And as long as it's far down in the wing, I don't think it will affect the way this fly will swim in a negative way. You see, they are coming a little bit wherever they want, but holding them back, looking at this, I will see they blend in good. 1 or 2 here, I can take them one by one as long as they're not too many. Take that away a little bit too. These are very hot fluorescent, so. And looking at that, it looks good. So what I do now, I go over to next color, which is orange. And you can say on this fly I'm going to use, find a little better here. hair here. I'm going to use about equal amount of each color. And what I can do, I can put a little black roof on an orange yellow wing, or I can do the opposite. I can put just a little bit of color underneath the black wing. But here I use about the same amount of material. This bunch is a little too heavy. I'm going to take away a bit of this. But first I'm going to untangle it, making sure I have the strands being beside each other like this. And then I'll take away a few strands. Look at the taper. And actually this had a nice taper. I don't need to taper it. So I put it in. Make sure this bunch now is longer than the yellow. If I don't taper them in the right way, I'm gonna have a fly that's not gonna swim. Pull the wing a little bit, make sure I get, here we go. This can happen. The thread likes to slide down a little bit, and I have to be careful, as I said, try to put this on top of each other. Looking at that, and it looks good, and I cut away, and I don't cut everything here when I have this much. I take a little bit at a time, and I can also twist it and cut to get everything away. Does it look good? Maybe I have a few strands that are pointing down there. I can take them away afterwards. That's no problem. Okay, so now I'll take a little bit of Alta Gold angel hair. Just a few strands. Same as before. And I think it's worthwhile mixing synthetics and natural hair this way. Otherwise the synthetics will tangle more and affect the hair not swimming the way I want it to. Do we have some glue here somewhere? Here we go. I'll take a little bit of glue here, using support, put a little bit of glue just on this part I tied in, making this stay perfectly like that. Okay, so what I do now is I take the next hackle, and I'm going to use, I can show you, we have this really good pack. It's super good with rump feathers. The black one was a pheasant rump feather. And the good thing with the rump feather pack is that either you have the bright colors coming from feathers that are bleached first and then dyed, or you have the one that's dyed without bleaching, meaning they get a little duller in the color, and they are, I got one right here too, see, that's maybe better. And even this is yellow, it's quite dull in the color, and when it comes to this, I prefer that hackling. Because you will see I get a very nice blend. Here I do this, same again, taking a little shorter part this time because I don't need more than maybe 2 centimeters. Create a little triangle, tie it in, and double by pulling fibers. Tie them in. And this looks good. I have a couple that are pointing the wrong way here. Have to be a bit careful when I put my fingers on top because I have the glue in there. Okay, and then it's time for black, and when it comes to the last color here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide the black into two, meaning I take a little bit of black first, and I'm going to put that on, and then I'm going to put on the last hackle. See how much fur I've taken away here by just pulling this. And I'm gonna save up for a small part of black in front of the last hackle. Here I have to be careful so I don't take too much. Is it too much? Maybe take away a few strands and tie it in, and make sure I get this now to be a little bit longer than the other part, so it tapers, and then I tie it in. Looking so I get the black to follow down. Maybe I'll pull away a couple of these orange afterwards when I'm ready. It's easy to adjust that if you have a few that you've been pulling down too much. Okay, so now I've done this. Now I have to think when it comes to the classic fly here, where I have to hide everything, and I'm going to try to hide this into an extra small half turbo cone, meaning I can't have too much stuff there. So even if I'm not ready with this, I will have to, I don't have to, but I will put on one hackle. But first I will tie in the jungle cocks, and I very seldom do that in the middle of the wing, but on this one I will do that. And when it comes to jungle cock, you know, I'm very careful about also only using our, see where I have my sightless, it was right here. I showed it in every film. I better show it now. It disappeared from me somewhere around here. Anyway, always use legal feathers, okay? So I start with the one that's on my side, and I form it over my thumbnail, making it curve the way I want. Make sure it's long now, so it goes almost all the way back to where the tubing ends before I tie it in. There we go. It can be a bit tricky, especially when you have a wing that's coming down on the side like this. I have to move the feather a little bit. I use my thumbnail to move it, to put it in just in the perfect spot where I want it, and curve this a little bit more. Okay, tying this in on the other side here, and making sure that it will sit where I want it to sit. Not too high up, not too far down. Pull down the little bottom piece before I tie it away, cut it away. Okay, does it look good? It looks okay. And what I do now is that I take the last hackle, and here I'm going to use a feather that is bleached and dyed, and of course I can do this the opposite way, starting with the hottest colors in the back, as I said, and then put this on, put the black on in front. Take a feather with a little bit longer fibers, maybe, pulling back, creating that little triangle. And as I've said before, you see I use support when I cut, especially when I need to be accurate. so I'm sure I get these turns, this cut to be exactly where I want it to be, and then I tie it in. Then do the same. Take this double 3 fingers, pull back, hold back the part I'm tying in, folding this so I get all fibers coming the same way, like this. And you can see how it's almost like a little heron hackle. And I work the feather down onto the extra small. So everything up till now has been tied in on the medium. Tie this in on the extra small, having all the fibers doubling the right way, almost all. Few of them wants to go the other way. Doesn't really matter. Then I divide this with the scissor or a dubbing needle. Just hold them back. Now I'm going to tie in the last part of the wing, and I have to be really careful now because I need to cover everything, cover the thread and everything with that little tiny cone. And what I do is I look so I get a piece of hair that is the softest. I always try to take the softest part on top, and I also need it to be the longest. And you can always look and see that it's long enough. It's not really super straight, but if it's not super straight, it doesn't really matter. It's so soft that the current will straighten this out and have this following the wing. And I look and see, so I have few fibers here. Pulling my fingers in back and looking, so I really get this to taper in a nice way. And here I'm careful. 1, 2, and 3 turns. Make sure I'm pulling the thread, and it's the thread, how elastic it is, that will hold the material. And then I pull this up and I cut it off. And you need also a good scissor to be able to cut this close. If I have 1 or 2 or 3 strands here, they will double back. It doesn't really matter, but have to be a bit careful. And then I do a little bit of angel hair. And I use Natural Rusty. This color combination, I made this to blend with Peacock. And I divide a few strands. Putting a little bit of sparkle on top to go together with our, where are they? Can you imagine how you can mess up everything with just 1 or 2 flies? With our Peacock. And here I'm using Peacock, either dyed orange or dyed yellow. And once again showing us Peacock backs. We have, they don't consist of this many, but we have our Peacock backs on. And the reason we packed those from the start was that for this pattern of the month packs, we found the best Peacock we've ever seen. And we just figured we couldn't help buying Peacock to also serve you guys with. Okay, so Peacock, 3 to 5 strands. And again, doing this Willie gun, you can decide how you want to work with the colors, black or orange or yellow. I've taken here, what are they, yellow, you can do the orange, and I split these so they are wide between my fingers, and I look how long I want them, and when I think I want them like that, then I take this and I press them down and I tie them in, and it looks like one is going to twist here. If not, I'm a lucky bastard. And I was looking here, I have a little bit angel hair sticking out here that I can take away now, or I can do it later on. Take them away, cut close. And the reason I've been so super careful here now is that I'm gonna take this extra small black turbo, and the little hole there is gonna cover everything up for me here if I've done it correctly. And I've done on this one the same as I've done with most flies, that if I'm decided to use a dark cone, I use a light tubing, and I try to get them to stick out from each other. Little bit of glue, oops, new glue, you have to be careful. And I put a little bit of glue on, and I just press down the cone, take the thread away, press down the cone hard, close down, and make sure I don't get any thread seen here. That's the trick here. Then I take the fly out of the vise, pull them back, use support and cut off, and I use about 2 to 3 mil. The bigger cone, the longer I have it. Black lighter, a little bit black in the fly, and I hold it up and I'm just melt it down. And do it slow so it don't start burning. And if you hold it up, you're gonna end up with a nice little hole there for your leader. Okay, so I look at the fly and I do what, like I almost all the time do, I put the fly here and I look through with the angel hair strands, and I don't want to have angel hair that is sticking out being longer than the hair, because if they are, they will start tangling with in the hook. And if you look at this now, what I've done here is that as I told you, I get this, I think, pretty cool mix of fibers here, quite dull, covering over the little flashy part. And I have the wing that is got the lightest part in the bottom and the darkest in the back. And I get this really nice taper. And I talked about cones so many times, but classic fly is the medium profiled cone. It creates a medium profile on the fly. It's the heavier it is, the bigger it is, the broader the fly will be. And since I used a quite small half turbo, this is going to be like not slim. Almost no flies of mine are slim. It's wide, but it's not as wide as if I did do a turbo and use the hackle to be tied in front of the wing. So this is what we call classic design. And did it turn out good? I think it turned out pretty good. I'll fish this on a cloudy day on a river with a little bit of brown in it. I think this is a super good fly. So, was it 36? Many films we've done, and also I hope you check out our films and following us on YouTube, where are planning to put more films from fishing. But I can also tell you that we talked about having a little series of films just telling stories. To me, at first it sounded like a crazy idea to sit in front of the fire and talk. But we had so many people asking about so many things, so we figured that would be something that we will probably start fairly soon. Okay, the Willie gun, my style of fly, Willie gun colors, classic combination, superb fly, I think, and I catch quite a few fish every year on the Willie gun. So, ready? And well, thank you for watching this little longer film. I will, proud as hell, take on my sailor cap and welcome you next month. And then we are going to do something completely different in a different color perspective. Thank you, and stay strong and tie on.